Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing the mid-year book tag. I am very excited to kind of just sit down, talk about all of the books that I've been reading this year and my opinions on them. Sorry, I grabbed something off of the table and it just started shaking. I'm noticing people are starting to post these videos. However, I got my questions from this YouTuber Kat. Her channel name is Lit by Kat, and I kind of felt inspired by her questions. So that is what I have for the questions of this mid-year bookish tag. I don't think I did one of these last year, but I do know I've done one of these before. And I feel like halfway through the year is just a good point to sit down, review the books that you've been reading, review your goals, and just talk about them together. Now, in 2025, I did set up 25 books that I wanted to read in 2025. And I'm actually pretty decently along within this goal. I'm not going to say all of the books that I've read because I have read a pretty decent chunk. I definitely still have a ways to go with my 25 to read in 2025, but that's the second half of this year Chelsea's issue to worry about. That's not a me right now issue to worry about. My reading numerical goal this year was I wanted to read 50 books. And I will say I am at, it's either 48 or 49. I think my Goodreads is technically telling me that I'm at 49, but I think it counted one of the books that I read this year twice. But that is also including DNFs. I want to finish 50 full books, but my Goodreads is going to count some DNFs. So I've DNF'd this many books this year, and I've actually finished this many books this year. I don't really want to raise my Goodreads goal, my numerical goal, because for me, reading is never about the quantity of books that I'm reading. I just want to enjoy reading. I want to enjoy this hobby that I have. So I don't know. I might increase it to maybe 75, but I honestly just feel good that I've been reading and I don't feel any pressure to try and raise the number to prove something to myself. That's what's going on for my Goodreads number goal this year. And with all of that being said, we are going to get straight into today's video and today's questions. The first question is the best book of 2025. I have two answers for this. One is I think my favorite book of 2025, and then one of them is I think the best release and just I don't know. So in my opinion, the best book of 2025, release-wise, hype-wise, and the actual book is Sunrise on the Reaping. I absolutely love the Hunger Games series. I've talked about it 1,000 times on my channel, but that is the book series as a child that got me into reading. And so to be back in that world with those characters, also reading about the stuff that you read in the Hunger Games is very, with everything going on in the world right now, it felt like the right time to read stuff like that. And I absolutely loved that book. I'm so excited for the movie to come out. Me and one of my friends, Caitlin, we're gonna go to the movie theater dressed like Woody Harrelson in the pajamas at the Hunger Games premiere. And I'm so excited. Also very scared to relive the squirrels of it all. The second book that I have as an answer to this is The Favorites. I feel like everyone kind of moved on from this book, but that book is genuinely so beautiful. It is about these two figure skaters. You're following them basically from their whole life. So you follow them when they're very, very young, and then they go into figure skating training. They train for the Olympics. You follow them as they're going through all of these different, I'm forgetting if figure skating, if it's tournaments or events. You follow them as they go to all of these different things within the figure skating world and calendar. What I love the most about this book is that it feels real and it's messy. I don't know, it's just written so well. It's written in kind of two different writing styles. You're following them as they're going through this documentary that's talking about these two figure skaters and their life and their achievements, but then you're also in other chapters following along real life, live time as they're experiencing these different moments. I just really love this book. Everyone was reading this in January, February. I do think that this is the perfect book to read in the beginning of the year, or even end of December would be great. I just think it's so well written and everyone moved on really fast from it, but it deserves its flowers. It's such a beautiful book. I already had 2 coffees today and I so badly wanted something fruity and bubbly, but I can't have an energy drink, so I'm trying this and it's honestly not that good. Next question is, what is the best sequel of 2025? I honestly don't think I've read that many sequels this year. I've read 2 series in full. And then the sequel that I have for the answer of this, honestly, like, yes, I really enjoyed this book and I really enjoy this series, but partly this was the answer to this question because I just haven't read a lot of sequels this year. For me, it was Enchantra. I absolutely love this series and I loved this sequel. I thought it was so fun. I love this world because it feels so dark, mysterious, it's fantasy, and it's so, in my opinion, like unique. It feels like an adult version of the Caraval series, in my own opinion, and I love it so much. But what I also love is that it's an interconnected series. So Phantasma is about one game and Enchantra is about a different game. And going into Enchantra, I did not know how this author was going to go about switching the characters that we follow, and how are you going to kind of follow a similar storyline of the first book but switch it up for the second book. Do you want my water? So yes, I loved Enchantra. I think that was, in my opinion, the best sequel this year. I believe it also came out earlier this year. So yeah, that's my answer. Next question is new releases that you want to read. Now, I do have two answers for this, and both of these are like new releases that I feel like no one has really talked about, or at least I haven't seen anyone talk about. The first new release that I want to read is The Bachelorette Party by Camilla Sten. This came out on June 10th, and I want to read this because I am in that phase where like all of my friends are getting married. Last year I went to a few bachelorette parties. This year, later this summer, I have to go to a bachelorette party, and I'm just very intrigued by this one. I've never heard people talk about it and I want to see what it's all about. And then the other new release that I want to read this year is Saltwater. This is on my 25 to read in 2025. This came out on March 25th. That day is traumatizing. That one I'm also very intrigued by and I really want to get to. Hopefully in the second part of this year. I know Saltwater is available by my library. I think they're both actually books that I found at my library. I don't know if anyone else's library is like this. I'm very intrigued actually if your library is different. My library for Libby only offers 5 digital holds at a time, and I have an ever-growing like Libby TBR. I literally take screenshots on my camera roll, and then once I get a book off of my hold and I'm reading it, I put a new book on my hold. I wish I could like put 25 holds at one time. Like that would be so beneficial to me. I'm curious though, what is your like maximum amount of library holds that Libby offers you? Because I do think it's different for like each different library. Yeah, mine's only 5 and I've been putting off putting Saltwater on my hold and I need to do it. Next question is your most anticipated release for the second half of this year. I feel like my answer is going to be the same as everyone else's, partly because I don't really keep up with new releases. I feel like I'll find out that a book is being released the week that it's being released or the day that it comes out. But the book that I am very intrigued by is, I think it's Catabasis. I have no idea how to say it, by R.F. Wong. I've never read any books by R.F. Wong. Kind of want to read The Poppy War, but I've also heard that book is very traumatizing, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not in the most fantasy mood. I think I've talked about this in so many videos, so I need to shut up in saying this, but I've read so many fantasy books. Fantasy was my OG, like that was my genre, and I feel like in the bookish space, I feel like fantasy is the one genre that I read a new book and it feels like a story that I've read 80 times already. So I'm kind of over fantasy, and I believe The Poppy War is fantasy. So I'm not sure if I will read that, but Catabasis, I have no idea what it is supposed to be like these 2 college students that follow their professor into the underworld. I don't know. I'm very intrigued by it. I know everyone that's already read their arcs really loves it. I think this comes out in August. I was gonna say I have quite a bit of time until then, but like it's already almost the end of June. So actually I do not have a lot of time until that comes out, which is crazy. This year has gone by really fast. That's actually insane. The next question is the biggest disappointment of this year. I'm in the minority and the unpopular opinions of everyone in this. I did not like One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I DNF'd it. I read it in a video. Now looking back, I honestly don't know if I remember what Carly Fortune's writing is like. And this is why, like, reading is so personal, and a lot of what I'm gonna rate a book, if I like a book, if I don't like a book, literally is just like a game of chance, because am I in the mood for it? Do I like the writing at that moment in time? What am I going through in my day-to-day life? Am I really busy? Am I not really busy? Am I reading it in one sitting? Am I reading it throughout a span of 2 weeks? Like, reading reviews, book ratings are never that serious to me, because I could read a book in the beginning of this year, absolutely love it, and then I could read that same book, like, but it would be my first time reading it right now, and I could absolutely hate it. This book, in my opinion, was so cringy and annoying, and I did not like the main character. She was supposed to be in her 30s, but she felt very immature and insecure, and I was just getting irritated reading about her. So yeah, I didn't like that one. I DNF'd it, and everyone seems to really love it. So I'm happy that they all really liked it. I really think that Carly Fortune's book covers are beautiful. I'm really jealous of everyone that gets to have that book on their bookshelves because the cover is gorgeous, but it just wasn't the book for me. Maybe I'll come back to it another time. I know, like, I read it at my library, so I could always give it a second chance and just download it on my Kindle again. But yeah, wasn't the book for me. That was like my biggest disappointment this year. Following up a super negative review of a book with a very positive. What is the biggest surprise of this year? And for me, that's the Defy the Night series. I read that series back to back, and this was the biggest surprise to me because A, I don't know why, but I've never heard anyone talk about this series, and then B, I randomly started reading this book. I think I was filming like a 24-hour readathon, and I just needed a book on my Kindle, so I just picked a random book at the library, started it, binge read the first book in one day, and then I want to say like the second book, it took me like 2 or so days. Like, I read the books back to back, loved them, absolutely loved them. It was YA fantasy, but it felt like a fantasy that like I have read before, but it felt unique, and I felt engulfed in the world, and I really loved it. And it was just so random. Like, it had been a really long time since I felt the way that those books made me feel, and I was so excited about it. So if you've not read the Defy the Night series, it is about our main character who lives in a world where this like plague, this deadly illness is spreading around all of the villages, and she and one of her friends basically illegally smuggle this vaccine or like elixir that heals people and keeps them safe. Something happens to her friend which leads her down this path where she has to go to the castle to kind of seek revenge, and that's just the beginning of the first book. But the way the story grows and where the story goes throughout the series, like, it feels like a completely different book series at the end of it, and I love that series so much. So definitely Defy the Night. I love that I discovered those books from my library because, like, I love finding books that I may not have ever checked out, like if I saw them in person, whatever. But I also am kind of sad because I loved those books, but I do not have physical copies of them. But yes, Defy the Night, definitely check that out. My friend literally just texted me about one of my crushes. That's embarrassing. Next question is your new favorite author. I have 2 of them. They're both just new to me. I don't know if they are technically like newer authors. I know for sure the first one isn't. The first one is Marissa Meyer. She is the author of the Renegade series. I just read that series. I absolutely love that series, and I love her writing. I really want to read, I think it's the Lunar Chronicles is the one that's like Cinder and everything like that. It's supposed to be like dystopian sci-fi fairy tale retellings. I think she's the author of Heartless. I don't know if I'm ever going to read that book, but I loved the Renegade series. It is a sci-fi story about a superhero and a villain, and the villain kind of infiltrates the superheroes to seek revenge for something that happened to her as a child. And I don't know, it's a book that very much explores the idea of what is evil, what is good, how much of it is just what you're raised to know and the influences that you have as a kid. I love that series so much. So definitely Marissa Meyer. And then also another author that I've been loving this year, Simone Soltani. She is the author of Cross the Line, and then also Ride With Me is the one that I'm reading right now. I think that's my pool book that I'll read whenever I go lay outside. But it's F1 romances, and I love F1, obviously. If you watch my channel, you know I literally have a Lego, you can't see it, I have a Lego Mercedes car behind me. Absolutely adore F1. I love F1 romances, and I love Simone Soltani's writing. It's just so fast, straight to the point, very flirty, very fun. So yeah, those are my 2 newest favorite authors that I discovered this year. Next question is your newest fictional crush. My answer, I don't have a bookish fictional crush answer, and I apologize for that, but Superman, bro. Superman, specifically David Cornsweet. I don't know how to say his last name. That man is so beautiful. I am so excited for the new Superman movie to come out. I saw that first movie trailer, and that's why I read the Renegade series, but bro is beautiful, and I'm so excited to see him on the big screen. So I know that that is not a bookish character, but that is my hyperfixation crush right now, is Superman. And then also Daniela from Cat's Eye. The next question is books that made you cry. I'm on Zoloft. I don't really cry to books. And then on the other side of that, books that made you happy. Both of these answers are, I just felt kind of giddy while reading these books. So the first one is Daydream by Hannah Grace. And then the next one is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Daydream, I just love that world and those characters. And I do have to say, I think as the series has gone on, it's gotten better. I feel like Icebreaker is the worst book in that series. I loved Daydream because I loved the two characters together, and I adore Henry as a character. And then Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I just read this from my library. I absolutely loved it. I was never going to read this book because supposedly it is supposed to be this super smutty college swimming romance. And yes, it is smutty, but it's not as crazy as people make it seem. I just really enjoyed that story. I don't know. I had a fun time with it. So those are the two books that I have for that answer. Ooh, I don't have an answer for this one, but the most beautiful book that you bought this year. I might have an answer. This is a book that I bought recently, and I think that this cover is gorge. This is The Bridge Kingdom, and I think that the way that they did the like foiling and the matte, I don't know. This book cover is beautiful. So this one, otherwise, I also really like Lore of the Wilds. I also just recently bought that one, but I don't know. I've been buying books this year. Like I'm not on a book buying ban or anything like that, but I'm definitely slowing down on the amount of books that I'm buying. I've really been loving my library and using my Kindle. I go in and out of phases where I only want to read physical copies or I only want to read on my Kindle. And definitely right now, I've been loving scrolling on Libby and just buying, or not buying books, but like just downloading them. And I've honestly been saving a lot of money, so that is great. I would love to one day be able to be a homeowner and have a backyard for Stella Bella. So we definitely got to slow down on the amount of books that we are buying. I've kind of gotten back into, when I first got back into reading after I graduated college, I would only buy books if I could not find them at the library, and I've definitely started doing that again. So if I can find a book at the library, I'm gonna read it at the library, and then if I can't find it from the library, then I allow myself to buy it. Also, I've been really enjoying, I bought some books earlier this year from Book Outlet, which is you can get books for $5 a piece from there. I really want to go to what is it called? This store. I'm blanking on it, but it's basically used books, secondhand books. And I'm definitely I still go to Barnes, and I do still support indie bookstores. I love Tropes and Trifles in Minnesota. There's a few ones in Minneapolis that I want to discover, but I don't know. I've just been trying to save money on books this year, and trying, I don't know. I feel very gross with the way that corporate people are treating people right now. I'm gonna save my money and then try and just support local authors and local businesses as much as I can. If I can't, then I'm gonna save my money and buy secondhand. But before I do any of that, I'm gonna find the book at my library. Feels crazy, but we're almost done. We got 2 questions to go. The next question is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? Obviously, I need to finish my 25 books to read in 2025. I think this book is on my 25 books to read in 2025. The only book that I must read this year is Parable of the Sower. To this day, I still don't know how to correctly say that title. That book, the only reason why I need to read it this year is because it takes place in 2025. The author wrote that book, I want to say in the 80s or the 90s, and it is I think, climate and race-based dystopian. We're following, I want to say our main character is a woman who lives in California, and we're following how basically people have destroyed the earth and now how people have to survive based off of it. I don't know. A lot of people say that book is crazy because of how much of it has come true. So I'm nervous to read that book, but I need to read it in the year of 2025. So I need to read that book before the end of this year. I should read that book end of summer, beginning of fall, I think would be a good time to read it. And then the last question is favorite bookish creators this year. I honestly don't have anyone in specific for this. I've been really enjoying watching random smaller bookish creators. I just really like watching people who I can tell have a genuine love for reading versus the content where it's more so just the copy and pasted content that everyone seems to do, where it doesn't feel genuine to the person. But yeah, I've just been loving watching random smaller channels and supporting people who, know, maybe only have 1,000 subscribers or maybe only have 20,000. Like I don't know. I've just felt a big shift this year with wanting to support more genuine people if I can. That is my complete roundup of my mid-year check-in. If there are any books that you think I should read before this year is over, please let me know in the comments so that I can add them to my TBR. And also, if there are any videos that you want me to film in the next couple of weeks, let me know. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.